Hi, we're from UNSW TV,
And today we'll be interviewing Sukanya Raguraman,
who works here at the Inflammation and Infection Research Center. Enjoy.
Okay, so to begin, could you tell us a little bit about your research and what you do here at the university?
So I'm a research fellow at the Inflammation and Infection Research Center, which is a research group within the School of Medical Sciences. So I'm basically an immunologist who looks at how the host immune system responds to viral infections. I'm also, in the last couple of years, I've also been looking at how disturbances in metabolism can disturb the adaptive immune response and therefore alter outcome in case of co-infection with the virus. So that's what I'm doing.
Did you ever get bored of the work that you're doing?
Never. That has never been a problem with me. I think the more you learn about a subject, it just gets more and more interesting. And it just makes you more creative about using what you know.
So what was the most interesting infectious disease you've ever worked with, and or what was the most dangerous?
Well, I happen to work with what is proven to be the most dangerous virus in terms of the fact that you can never get rid of it if you get infected with it. Only like 4 out of 10 people can actually clear the virus. I work with the hepatitis C virus, which tends to become persistent and chronic in 7 out of 10, every 10 people who get infected. So it is the most dangerous virus that and I think it's not only in my opinion, but it is in fact more dangerous than HIV because it's more transmissible than HIV. And even though there are drugs for HIV, for a long time there's not been any very successful drug for this virus. So it's only recently that these drugs have started being they're starting to be made only recently. So for a long time this was the most dangerous virus, and so that's what I've been working with.
So just in light of all that, what sort of safety precautions do you take, when you're dealing with that sort of thing? Do you ever feel worried or scared with working with such infectious diseases?
I think I started working in a diagnostic laboratory where safety came first. So the first thing we had to do was, I used to work with all kinds of hepatitis viruses like hepatitis B, A and so on. So we started off by getting vaccinated for some of the viruses that had vaccines. So for the ones that we just took extra precautions in terms of wearing safety glasses, never handling infected plasma on the bench. We always used to handle it within biosafety cabinets. We always wore protective gear like gloves, lab coats, safety goggles and so on. And I think if you're safe, it doesn't matter what virus you're handling.
How do you feel about group work, and is it different as an academic compared to a university student?
There are, for example, in a particular project, you can't be expected to do everything in the project, everything the project entails. For example, I can give you last year we actually had to prove a particular concept in animals, and we didn't have an animal colony going. So we had to collaborate with a Centenary Institute, which had an animal colony. They were willing to help us actually inject what we had to inject into the animals. They were willing to help us with the animal surgeries with which we had no experience at all. And as a result of which we got what we wanted within a very short span of time. So I think collaboration is absolutely essential for a scientist in this climate, where money is short and people tend to become experts in one particular thing. You can't be an expert in everything, and so you need collaboration. How the group work you do is different from the collaborative work we do is that I think in this kind, for example, in this exercise, all of you are doing addressing little bits of the same question. In collaboration and as an academic, you try to address different parts of the same question. Does that make sense or not? I don't think it did.
What characteristics make for a good scientist?
I think you need to be you need to be really interested in what you do, obviously. You should be able to communicate why you find your work interesting to a large audience, and I think that that's part of being a good scientist. You need to be creative with the resources you have. You need to be able to communicate well, and you need to be able to collaborate well.
Have you ever personally felt victimised by the peer review process? If so, do you think this process could be improved? If not, how do you feel about ulterior motives?
Well, I can say so far I have not been a victim of the peer review process, but I can see situations where the peer review process can be a bad thing to have. It could be a bad thing, but and I think the only way, there's no way of getting rid of the peer review process as far as assessing grants and assessing publications for articles goes. There's no way you can get rid of it. It's a good thing, because otherwise you just get a lot of unproven, unsubstantiated stuff masquerading as proven fact. So I think the only way to improve the peer review process is to make it more open, in terms of you tell, for example, if you send an article to a journal, you should know exactly who is reviewing it, and for example, if it's rejected, you should know why it's being rejected, and you should be given ample time to pose a rebuttal for the peer review. It should just basically be made more open.
What advice would you give to first-year students studying science?
I would say keep your options open. Learn don't start narrowing down the field that you think you're going to be interested in the first year. Try to learn as much as possible about the different subjects, because it's too early to decide which one is going to catch your fancy later on. So take as many electives as you can. I don't know if that's an option for you guys here, but try to keep your options open is the advice I would give to first years.
So what exactly did you do in your PhD?
Okay, so my PhD was in molecular virology, so where I was involved in genotyping the hepatitis C viral strains prevalent in India. And at that point of time, there was absolutely no knowledge about what kind of genotypes of this virus were present, and this was important because the way you treated this virus infection, or the length of treatment for this viral infection, depended on knowing what genotype it was. So I think my PhD was important because it kind of gave an idea to the clinicians that, look, this is the most prevalent genotype in that population there, and so you could pretty much tailor the treatment based on that. So that, and my experiment-wise, basically this involved collection of samples from infected individuals, isolating the virus from them, performing PCR, genotyping, confirming that with sequencing, and so on.
Was the journey to where you are now easy, or was it difficult?
Well, it depends on why you would call something difficult. If you really like it, nothing is difficult. And I think, there have been things that I didn't like along this journey, but it's about doing things that you want to do. And I think for that, I don't think you can call any journey difficult if you get to do what you want to do. And I think that's so I wouldn't call my journey. There have been difficult instances. There have been difficult phases, but I wouldn't call my journey a difficult one.
Was there a point where you wanted to give up, or?
No, never.
Never?
I think once you're set on this path, you wouldn't think of, I can't think of myself doing anything else except maybe one interest that I've had is actually becoming a scientific editor at journals, and so that's something I might think about, but apart from these two things, I wouldn't think of doing anything else, yeah.
Thank you for letting us interview. It was very interesting, and we wish you all the luck in your future research.
Thank you very much, and I hope I've communicated a little bit of the interest and passion I have for science. And I hope of the four of you, at least one or two gets interested in pursuing a research career. That will be great. I think you won't regret it.
So thanks for watching, and we hope you've gained insight into the life of Sukanya and also just how science works here at UNSW.
What advice would you give to first year science students studying science?
His head.
What advice would you give to... What advice... Is it recording? What advice would you...
Flying arms.
Where's my head in the shot? What advice would you give to first year students studying science?